Oh my God, everyone. Welcome back to Story Essence Podcast. I'm Anna, and I am literally shaking with excitement for today's episode. This is going to be insane.
And I'm Mark. Anna, stop everything. Are you ready to witness the most epic, earth-shattering military campaigns in human history? Because today we're diving into Episode 2, Conquests and Campaigns, how one man, Genghis Khan, literally reshaped the entire planet.
Mark, I've been reading about this all week, and I'm still in complete shock. Wait, what? We're talking about one man who went from uniting Mongolia to conquering half the known world in just a few decades. That's not just insane, that's impossible.
Anna, it's beyond impossible. When we left off in Episode 1, Temujin had just become Genghis Khan, the universal ruler of the steppes. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. He's about to launch campaigns that will make Alexander the Great look like he was playing with toys in a sandbox.
Wait. Mark, before we dive into these massive campaigns, oh my God, I think our listeners need to understand just how different this world was in the early 1200s. We're not just talking about one guy with an army. No way. We're talking about completely reshaping the political map of the entire planet.
Exactly, Anna. Picture this. In 1200, the world was shattered into dozens of separate kingdoms, empires, and city-states. The Song Dynasty controlling southern China, boom! The Jin Dynasty in the north, massive. The Khwarazm Empire controlling Central Asia, enormous. The Byzantine Empire, the various Islamic caliphates, European kingdoms that barely controlled territory beyond their capital cities. These civilizations barely knew each other existed.
Oh my God. So it's like there are all these isolated bubbles of civilization, each thinking they're the center of the world, and then, hold on, this one guy from Mongolia is about to connect all of them, whether they want to be connected or not. This is insane.
Exactly. And Anna, get this. Here's what makes it even more incredible. These weren't small tribal societies Genghis was dealing with. The Jin Dynasty alone controlled over 50 million people. The Khwarazm Empire stretched from the Persian Gulf to the Aral Sea. These were massive, established civilizations with centuries of military tradition.
Wait, 50 million people? Mark, how many Mongols are we actually talking about here? Please don't tell me a few 100,000 nomads are about to take on empires with tens of millions of people. That's impossible.
Anna, that's exactly what makes this so absolutely mind-blowing. Historians estimate the entire Mongol population was maybe 1 to 2 million people, including women, children, and elderly. The fighting force that Genghis could initially field was probably around 100,000 to 150,000 warriors maximum.
No way! You're telling me that 150,000 people are about to take on civilizations totaling over 100 million? That's impossible odds. This shouldn't work at all. This is insanity.
But Anna, this is where Genghis Khan's true genius emerges. He doesn't try to fight everyone at once. No, he identifies the political fractures within these empires and exploits them ruthlessly. Plus, he never faces the full population in battle. He faces their armies, which are often smaller than his own forces.
Oh my God, so it's like he's not fighting entire civilizations at once, he's picking off their armies one by one while they can't coordinate with each other. That's brilliant. But Mark, how does he make sure he's not surrounded by multiple enemies at the same time?
This is where Mongol diplomacy becomes just as powerful as their military. Genghis maintains diplomatic relations with some enemies while crushing others. He even allies with certain Chinese factions against other Chinese factions. He's essentially playing a massive game of political chess across continents.
What? So he's not just a military commander, he's like the world's first global strategist. But Mark, Oh my God, how does he even know what's happening in all these different kingdoms? Communication technology in the 1200s wasn't exactly sophisticated.
Anna, this is another area where the Mongols were centuries ahead of their time. They create the yam, a relay system of horse stations that can get messages across the entire empire faster than any communication network that existed. Plus, they have traders, ambassadors, and spies embedded in every major city from Beijing to Baghdad.
No way. That's like having a medieval internet. No wonder he could coordinate campaigns across such massive distances. Okay, listeners, knowing all this context about the scale and sophistication of what Genghis Khan was attempting, Mark and I have a really important question for you. Guys, seriously, if your city was surrounded by Mongol armies right now, would you fight to the death or surrender immediately? Drop your answer in the comments right now, because by the end of this episode, you'll understand why that choice meant everything. We want to know what you would do.
All right, Anna, picture this. It's 1207. Genghis Khan has united Mongolia, but now he's looking outward. His first target? The Tangut Kingdom in northern China. These aren't nomadic tribes anymore. Oh no, we're talking wealthy, fortified cities with Chinese-style walls 30 feet high.
What? No way. So he's going from fighting other nomads to attacking actual fortified cities? Mark, how does a cavalry army even do that? That's impossible.
This is where Genghis shows his absolute genius. He doesn't just smash against the walls like a barbarian. No, he captures engineers. He adapts their technology, battering rams, catapults, flaming projectiles. The Mongols become a learning army that gets stronger with every victory.
That's brilliant. So they're not just destroying, they're absorbing knowledge. Oh my God, what happens to the Tanguts? I can't even imagine. Mark, I have to ask, oh my God, when the Mongols first encountered these Chinese fortifications, they must have been completely alien to them, like nomads from the steppes seeing massive stone walls for the first time. What was that culture shock like? It must have been mind-blowing.
You're absolutely right, Anna. Imagine warriors who lived their entire lives and felt tense, suddenly facing cities with walls 30 feet high and 20 feet thick. But here's what separates Genghis from other conquerors. Instead of retreating or just smashing themselves against the walls, he immediately starts learning. Immediately.
So what specifically does he learn? Like, oh my God, are we talking about him literally taking engineering classes from captured prisoners?
Essentially, yes. He forces captured Chinese engineers to build mangonels and trebuchets for him. But Anna, he also innovates. Mongol engineers develop portable siege towers that can be assembled quickly. They create flaming projectiles using naphtha and Chinese gunpowder. Most brilliantly, they use prisoners as human shields, forcing defenders to shoot their own people.
That's psychologically devastating. You're not just fighting an army, you're being forced to kill your own civilians. Mark, how did defenders even cope with that kind of mental warfare? That's horrible and brilliant.
Most don't. City after city surrenders rather than face these impossible choices. And Anna, once word spreads about these tactics, the Mongol reputation does half the work for them. Cities surrender before the siege even begins, just to avoid the psychological torture. By 1209, after years of pressure and encirclement, Shisha submits. They become a tributary state, providing resources and military support. But Anna, here's the key. This isn't just a victory, this is proof that the Mongols can take on civilized kingdoms, not just tribes. This changes everything.
Oh my God, so this is like his beta test for conquering the world? But Mark, what about the Jin Dynasty? That's gotta be way bigger than the Tanguts, right? Please tell me he's not about to take on something even more impossible.
Anna, the Jin Dynasty controlled northern China. We're talking about a massive, powerful empire. But here's where Genghis shows he's not just a warrior, he's a psychological warfare master. This is about to get insane.
Picture this, 1211. Fast-moving Mongol cavalry divisions sweep in, surround towns, isolate them completely. But they don't just attack, no. They spread rumors of Mongol invincibility. They force prisoners to march in front of their armies to make them look even bigger. It's brilliant psychological warfare.
Wait, that's psychological warfare. He's breaking their spirits before he even fights them. That's terrifying and brilliant at the same time. I'm getting chills.
Exactly. And he exploits political divisions within the Jin court, divide and conquer at its finest. By 1215, the Mongols captured Zhongdu. That's modern-day Beijing, Anna. They've taken one of the world's greatest cities.
Beijing? No way. No freaking way. In 4 years, he went from testing his army against the Tanguts to capturing one of the world's greatest cities. Mark, how is this even possible? This is beyond impossible.
Mark, when they capture Beijing, Zhudong, what actually happens to the city itself? Like, are we talking about complete destruction? Or do the Mongols try to preserve this incredible center of Chinese civilization? I need to know.
Anna, this is where we see the complex reality of Mongol conquest. Parts of Beijing are destroyed. There's looting, fires spread through entire districts. But crucially, Genghis preserves the imperial libraries, protects scholars and artisans, and maintains the city's administrative infrastructure. He needs this knowledge.
What? So it's like destructive preservation. He's willing to burn districts, but he protects the libraries? That's such a contradiction. Brutal conqueror, but also patron of learning. This is blowing my mind.
And that's exactly the pattern we'll see repeated across every major conquest. Destroy the political structure, eliminate resistance, but preserve and absorb everything useful: knowledge, skills, technology, administrative systems. Anna, he's not just conquering civilizations, he's harvesting them. Anna, before we go further, we need to understand the Mongol military machine itself. This isn't just about numbers, this is about a revolution in warfare. Each warrior had multiple horses, could ride for days without stopping. We're talking about mobility like the world had never seen.
Multiple horses? So they could just keep going when other armies would be exhausted. That's insane. Mark, I need to understand this multiple horse thing better because it sounds impossible. Like, how does one warrior manage 3 or 4 horses while fighting a battle? How?
Anna, this is pure genius. They don't manage all horses simultaneously during battle. They're riding relay systems across vast distances. When one horse gets tired, they switch to a fresh mount. The extra horses follow in herds managed by designated horse handlers. This means Mongol armies can travel 100 miles in a day, when other armies manage maybe 20.
100 miles in a day? That's like teleportation for the 1200s. Oh my god, so enemies literally can't predict where the Mongols will strike next because they're moving 5 times faster than anyone thought possible.
Exactly. Imagine you're a Chinese general. You get reports that Mongol scouts were seen 200 miles north yesterday. So you position your army to defend the northern approaches. But the Mongols have already circled around and are attacking from the east. By the time you reposition, they've hit 3 more targets and vanished.
That's like fighting ghosts. Mark, this kind of mobility advantage, it's almost like they invented blitzkrieg tactics 700 years before World War II. That's incredible.
Exactly. Plus, composite bows that could accurately hit targets at 300 meters. Signal flags and drums for real-time battlefield coordination. And Anna, here's what really made them unstoppable. They had merchants and spies reporting intelligence ahead of their armies.
So they knew everything about... What about the psychological terror part? I need to know.
Here's the brilliant part. Strategic massacres of cities that resisted, but complete leniency for those who surrendered. It was calculated terror designed to make future enemies give up without fighting. Anna, imagine you're a city leader. Do you risk total destruction or do you submit?
Honestly, I'd probably surrender. The smart choice is obvious when the alternative is annihilation. But this sounds so methodical, so organized. Not like the savage barbarians people imagine. This is strategic genius.
That's the key insight, Anna. Victory wasn't just brutality. It was organization, speed, and adaptability. But now we get to the campaign that changes everything, the conflict with the Khwarazm Empire. This is where it gets epic.
Picture this. Genghis Khan sends a peaceful trade caravan to the Khwarazmian Empire, modern-day Iran and Central Asia. This is about commerce, building relationships, but the Shah, suspicious and paranoid, executes the merchants.
He what? He killed peaceful traders? What? Mark, that's like declaring war on someone trying to do business with you. That's insane. What an idiot.
It gets worse. Genghis sends a second envoy to negotiate, and the Shah mutilates them. For Genghis Khan, this isn't just an insult, this is unforgivable. The Shah just signed his empire's death warrant.
Oh no. Oh no. That Shah just signed his empire's death warrant. What happens next? I can't even imagine the fury.
In 1219, Genghis Khan invades with an army estimated at 150,000 warriors. They unleash lightning assaults in the great cities of Bukhara and Samarkand. And Anna, at Bukhara, Genghis delivers one of the most chilling speeches in history.
What does he say? I'm getting chills just thinking about it. This is about to be epic.
He stands in the mosque and declares, and I need you to imagine this, he declares, I am the flail of God. If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you. Can you imagine being there, Anna? The conqueror of the world standing before you, claiming to be divine judgment itself.
That gives me actual goosebumps. The psychological impact of that moment must have been absolutely devastating. But Mark, does he just destroy everything? What happens next? Mark, that speech is terrifying. But what happens to the ordinary people in Bukhara after he gives this speech? Like, are we talking about complete massacre? Or is there some kind of mercy for civilians who weren't involved in the Shah's decisions? I need to know.
This is where Mongol policy gets really complex. In Bukhara, they actually spare most of the civilian population. The wealthy are forced to reveal their treasures and pay massive ransoms, but common people who cooperate are generally left alive. However, all young men capable of bearing arms are conscripted into Mongol auxiliary forces.
What? So he's not just conquering cities, he's converting their young men into his own soldiers? That's brilliant and horrible at the same time. These guys are now forced to fight against their own neighboring cities. That's diabolical.
Exactly. And Anna, here's the genius part. These conscripts are placed in the front lines of future sieges. If they fight loyally, they can earn status in the Mongol system. If they try to flee or sabotage, they're killed. It's a brutal but effective integration system that turns conquered populations into active participants in further conquests.
Here's what makes Genghis brilliant. Total devastation, yes, but selective sparing of artisans, engineers, and scholars. He relocates the talented people into his empire. He's not just destroying civilization, he's absorbing it, redistributing it across his territories.
What? So he's like a human resource manager from hell? Destroy the system but keep the valuable people? By 1221, what's left of the Khwarazm Empire? Anything? This is so calculated. But Mark, when they spare artisans and scholars, what exactly happens to these people? Are they treated as prisoners, or do they get some kind of special status in the Mongol Empire? I'm fascinated.
Anna, this is fascinating. They become a privileged class. Persian astronomers, Chinese doctors, Islamic mathematicians, Christian scribes. They're relocated to different parts of the empire where their skills are needed most. A scholar from Baghdad might end up teaching in Beijing, spreading knowledge across continents in ways that had never happened before.
So while he's destroying political structures, he's simultaneously creating the first global university system. Islamic medicine is spreading to China. Chinese inventions are reaching the Middle East. It's like forced globalization.
The specific innovations flowing through this network are mind-blowing. Chinese gunpowder technology reaches Islamic siege engineers who improve it and send it west to Europe. Persian astronomical instruments are refined by Chinese mathematicians. Islamic medical texts are translated into Mongolian and Chinese, saving countless lives across the empire. Nothing. The entire Khwarazm state collapses. This campaign cements Genghis Khan's reputation as both a terrifying conqueror and a collector of talent. But Anna, he's not done. The Mongols push into the Caucasus and defeat Georgian armies.
Wait, Georgia? Like, they're moving into Europe now? This is getting completely out of control. They're everywhere.
1223, the Battle of the Kalka River. A coalition of Russian princes tries to stop them. The Mongols feign retreat, lure the Russians into pursuit, then encircle and annihilate them. Captured princes are executed in gruesome ways, smothered under boards while Mongols feast on top.
That's horrific. Oh my God. But Mark, are they actually trying to conquer Europe at this point? Please tell me this madness has some limits.
Here's the terrifying part. Not yet. This was reconnaissance. They were mapping terrain, testing defenses, and spreading fear into Europe. They're basically saying we can reach you anywhere, anytime we want.
Mark, you mentioned that raid into Europe was just reconnaissance, but that means Genghis Khan was planning something even bigger for Europe, right? Like, what would have happened if he hadn't died in 1227? The suspense is killing me.
Anna, this is one of history's greatest what-ifs. The reconnaissance showed him that European knights were brave but tactically rigid. They charged straight ahead in heavy armor. Mongol mobility and archery would have devastated them. Plus, Europe was politically fragmented, dozens of small kingdoms that couldn't coordinate a unified defense.
What? So you're saying medieval Europe could have been completely conquered by the Mongols? That would have changed everything. Christianity, the Renaissance, the Age of Exploration. The entire course of Western civilization could have been totally different. This is insane.
Absolutely. And even after Genghis dies, his sons and grandsons continue using these exact same patterns: mobility, psychological warfare, technological absorption, and strategic preservation of knowledge. When they do invade Europe in the 1240s, they devastate Poland and Hungary using precisely these tactics.
Okay, I need to catch my breath here. Mark, let's step back. What are the results of all these conquests? Like, what has Genghis Khan actually achieved by the early 1220s? The scale is unbelievable.
Anna, prepare to be amazed. The Mongol Empire now stretches from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. Entire kingdoms, Xisha, Jin, and Khwarazm, destroyed or reduced to vassals. Trade routes across all of Eurasia are under Mongol control.
The scale of this is mind-blowing. We're talking about one man who went from tribal leader to controlling the majority of the known world in less than 2 decades. That's not just impossible, that's beyond impossible.
But here's what makes it even more incredible. Cultural and technological exchange is accelerating. Chinese siege technology, Persian administration, Islamic science. It's all flowing into the empire and spreading across continents.
So this isn't just destruction, It's like he's creating the world's first global network. Mark, what does Weatherford say about all this? Because this completely reshapes everything we know about history.
This is Weatherford's key insight. These campaigns weren't just destructive, they restructured the world. The Mongols enforced security on the Silk Road, allowing goods, ideas, and people to move across continents like never before.
Mark, I want to dive deeper into the economic side of this globalization because it's blowing my mind. Like, what does it actually mean for a Chinese merchant in 1225 compared to 1200? How different is daily commercial life?
Anna, it's revolutionary. Before 1200, that Chinese merchant might trade within a few hundred miles of his home city, constantly worried about bandits, local taxes, and conflicting currencies. By 1225, he can travel from Beijing to Istanbul under Mongol protection using standardized weights and measures with guaranteed safe passage.
What? So in 25 years, trade routes that were regional become intercontinental. That's like going from local farmers markets to Amazon Prime delivery across 3 continents. What kinds of goods are suddenly available to ordinary people?
Think about it. Chinese silk in European markets, Islamic spices in Mongolian cooking, Persian carpets in Chinese palaces. But Anna, it's not just luxury goods. Medical knowledge travels with merchants. Agricultural techniques spread. Mathematical concepts flow from culture to culture. Ideas are traveling as fast as trade goods.
That's incredible. But Mark, there's something else that fascinates me, the religious tolerance. Like in 1200, most empires forced their religion on conquered peoples. How does a pagan Mongol emperor end up protecting Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, and everyone else?
Anna, this is pure Mongol pragmatism. Genghis realizes that forcing religious conversion creates unnecessary rebellion and wastes administrative energy. Why fight about gods when you need to focus on governing? Plus, religious leaders often control education and literacy. He needs them functional, not martyred.
What? So while European kingdoms are fighting religious wars and Islamic states are enforcing orthodoxy, the Mongols are basically saying, believe whatever you want, just pay your taxes and don't rebel. That's amazingly modern for the 1200s.
Exactly. And Anna, the administrative innovations are just as revolutionary as the military ones. They create the first international postal system, standardize weights and measures across continents, establish diplomatic immunity for ambassadors, concepts that form the foundation of modern international relations.
Mark, this is beyond epic. We're not just talking about military conquest. We're talking about the invention of the modern world system. International trade, religious tolerance, diplomatic protocols, cultural exchange. Genghis Khan basically created the template for globalization. Exactly. So Genghis Khan basically created the first version of globalization? That's insane. A nomadic warrior becomes the architect of the modern interconnected world? I can't even.
Exactly. Born in violence, yes, but it set the stage for everything that followed. Anna, we're not just talking about military conquest, we're talking about the birth of the modern world system.
Listeners, I'm literally stunned by what we've covered today. From a single united steppe nation to an empire spanning continents, reshaping trade, technology, and culture across the entire known world. This is the most epic story in human history.
And here's what blows my mind. We've only covered the conquest phase. In our next episode, we're diving into how Genghis Khan actually governed this massive empire. The laws, the religious tolerance, the administrative genius that held it all together.
But before we go, listeners, here's our second question for you. What would you have done if your leader killed that trade caravan? Would you have supported the Shah or tried to stop him knowing what was coming?
Drop your opinion in the comments right now and let's discuss. The choices people made in that moment literally shaped the course of world history.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more epic history stories with the Story Essence podcast. We're bringing you the most incredible tales of human achievement, and trust me, Genghis Khan's story is just getting started.
But Anna, before we close, I want our listeners to really understand the magnitude of what we just discussed. When Genghis Khan dies in 1227, he leaves behind an empire that will continue expanding for another 50 years. His descendants will conquer the rest of China, invade Europe again, establish the Islamic Ilkhanate in Persia, and create the Golden Horde in Russia. The Mongol Empire becomes the largest contiguous land empire in human history.
And Mark, what's incredible is that this impact lasts for centuries. The trade routes he established, the cultural exchanges he initiated, even the genetic legacy. Scientists estimate that 0.5% of the world's male population today carries genetic markers from Mongol expansion. But listeners, final question. Do you think this kind of terror was a genius strategy or pure cruelty? Comment below and let's discuss, because this debate has been raging for 800 years. Genghis Khan didn't just conquer the world, he literally changed the DNA of humanity. Until next time, keep exploring the stories that made our world. This has been Anna, and I'm still shaking from this episode.
And Mark with Story Essence Podcast. The epic continues next episode. This has been absolutely incredible.